Welcome to my channel where OP gets back at an HOA Karen for trying to bully him around. Our next Reddit post is from No Man is an Island. HOA Karen demanded I repaint my house, so I fought back. I live in a condo and recently purchased a house. The house is about 30 years old and was built in a typical suburban neighborhood. It's one of those neighborhoods that has an HOA, but doesn't have many rules or regulations other than making sure your grass isn't too high and your house doesn't look like a slum. Other than that, there are no rules against paint colors or anything like that. In the past 2 months, I've painted the house myself. I did a terrible job painting the trim, and it looks really bad. Most of the trim is white, but there were some pieces that were painted in this sickly yellow color by the previous owner. I hate that color, and so I repainted all of it white. One day after I finished, I got a letter saying that I had to repaint the trim to its original color. The letter was from the HOA, and apparently they deemed that the yellow color was original because it wasn't white. I called the HOA and told them that it wasn't their money, and if they wanted it painted yellow, then they could get their own painter. They said that I had to do it and refused to listen when I said I had already paid for the paint. The president of the HOA even tried to tell me that it would affect property values if I didn't comply. I just laughed at that one. They sent me another letter giving me 30 days to comply or I would be fined $100 per day until it was fixed. Well, that was 3 weeks ago, and today I received yet another letter saying that I was now $3,300 in debt due to non-compliance. This HOA is killing me. I know that the HOA can fine me, but how are they going to make me pay? They can't put a lien on my house. There's no way they could sue me for this amount of money, and they aren't entitled to garnish my wages either. My company doesn't even withhold taxes from my paycheck, so they can't take anything out of that. Also, they only have my home address and email address. They don't even know where I work. Am I wrong? Edit. I should also mention that I'm pretty broke right now. I spent almost everything I had on buying this house, so I really can't afford to pay that much money. And the top comment from Scootin' Booty says, sounds like it's time to talk to a real estate attorney. You need someone who knows about HOAs and property liens in your state. If they send you a letter saying that you owe them money, then they are attempting to create a debt. If you sign that letter or any letter acknowledging the debt, then it becomes a legally binding contract. With enough time, they could eventually get a court order to garnish your wages, etc. But you have to fight it hard and fast. Someone mentioned property liens, which is definitely something you want to look into. Some states have statutes that say if the HOA puts a lien on your house, then you can remove it yourself by paying the fees. This varies by state, though. You also say you don't have enough money to pay them. But if you signed a contract when you bought the house that clearly states that you will abide by the HOA rules and regulations, then you absolutely do have the money. It's just sitting in your checking account in the form of equity. Don't be stupid. Sell the house, pay the fees, move somewhere else. Don't be a hero. And the next comment from Perpetual Caution says, your story sounds pretty similar to mine. The HOA made me repaint my house once, but I fought back. First, I asked what authority they had to tell me what color to paint my house. They couldn't answer. Then I told them that I wasn't going to do it. When they threatened to fine me, I asked them in writing to go ahead and fine me. Then I waited. The HOA held an emergency meeting to discuss my defiance. I got minutes of the meeting via a public records request. At the meeting, the HOA claimed they had the authority to dictate paint colors because it was stated in the bylaws. I requested a copy of the bylaws. After reviewing the bylaws, I found nothing about paint colors. What they actually had in the bylaws was a very general rule about maintaining the aesthetic integrity of the neighborhood, which sounded good to me. I met with the HOA board. I brought a lawyer. The board tried to use the aesthetic integrity clause in the bylaws, but I told them that it was too vague. That sounds good. But why did they let me paint the house white in the first place? The board had no response. We left the meeting. 2 months later, I get a letter from a collection agency. I asked the collections agency where they got the authority to collect on this debt. They told me the HOA gave them the right to collect. I told them the HOA didn't have the authority to fine me, and so they shouldn't be collecting on this debt. They dropped it. Now the HOA wants to come to a payment plan. Yeah, I'm not going to pay them a cent. This happened in Florida. And here's a comment from 420 Blaze It 420. A buddy of mine went through something similar in California. His HOA was acting like a gang of organized criminals. He wouldn't listen to them. He hired a real estate attorney, and the HOA backed down immediately. The attorney cost him less than the fines would have cost him. He had to pay out of pocket, but it was worth every penny. He's now on the board of directors and helping to clean up the HOA books. But my favorite comment here is from Ham Sandwich. It turns out that the most effective way to fight the HOA is to join the HOA. Since the vast majority of people don't read the documents they agree to, most HOA boards are made up of clueless people who just want to retire and avoid conflict. The easiest way to get things done is to butter them up with a smile and a box of donuts. Worst case scenario, you have to spend a couple of hours arguing at a meeting. Best case scenario, you make some friends and get some free donuts. Down in the comments, we have a story from Pineapple Crusher. Back when I was younger, I lived in a small town of about 2,500 people. It was nice. There were maybe 30 houses on the lake, and each one had to be approved by the Lake Association before building. My neighbor across the lake from me decided he was sick of the Lake Association approving everyone else's plans, while his plans were constantly being denied. So he sued them. He took them to court for denying his permit to build a dock and basically demanded they approve it or pay him X amount of dollars. He lost. They didn't pay. He dragged it out through appeals and whatnot. Eventually, the Lake Association said screw him and let him have his dock. The guy didn't get any money. The association paid court costs and lawyers' fees, but he had to pay for his own. By the time it was all said and done, the guy had lost his shirt. The lawsuit cost him so much money, he had to sell his house to pay for it. So yeah, OP, you can probably find a lawyer who will take you on contingency. You'll have to pay legal fees either way, but if you win, they get a percentage of the settlement. If you lose, you still have to pay, but if you can't afford it, then it might be worth looking into, and that was our story. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day.